Peter Lorre has asked, if I had one more trip, what would I fish for, where and how? Difficult one, because I love so many venues and so many fish, but it would definitely have to be in spring. That's my favourite time of the year, in May to be exact. And I think I would actually pick the River Wye, and I would go salmon fishing, because that's a complete surprise. I wouldn't know what's coming along, and it's at a wonderful location. So it'd be May, salmon fishing on the River Wye. This question is from Neal Lewin. He's after chub and barbel with limited time, and he wants to know the best way of going about it. Well, the first thing I would say is pick the battles you can win, and that counts for all species. If you've got limited time, don't pick a challenge of one big fish in a huge waterway. You're probably not going to achieve it. So maybe lower down what you want to catch, slightly smaller. It'll give you more opportunities to get bites, and also pick the times when you're going to fish. Don't waste time, because you haven't got time to waste, by fishing probably in the middle of the day. Dawn and dusk are the prime periods, and I would say with limited time, to avoid other anglers and get the best swims, go at dawn. You rarely see barbel anglers and chub anglers out at dawn. So follow that, and I'm sure you'll make the most of your time. Joe on Instagram has asked, who is the best angler I have ever fished with? And that's a real hard one, because angling's so diverse. You get a lot of people who are brilliant at their certain fields. You can get a great shark angler like Andrew Alsop. You can get a brilliant carp angler like Terry Earn. I've fished with him. You can get great game anglers and great barbel anglers. So I think I'd have to pick an all-rounder who can combine everything, and that would have to be John Wilson. Now, technically, I don't think he's the best angler I've ever fished with, and for individual species, he certainly wasn't. But what he could do is make a good fist at everything. So for me, John Wilson. Neil Cassidy has asked, have I already caught the impossible, or is it out there still waiting? Well, of course it's still out there. That's what fires all anglers. We dream of more and bigger fish. I've been very blessed to have caught many huge specimens, but every time I go, I hope for bigger and better. And I hope that continues until my very last cast. Jesper Pedersen has asked, if I had one chance to get a kid hooked on fishing, what would I do? Well, I'd probably take them on the same path as I did, and that wouldn't start with a rod and line. I'd get a net, and I'd get into the local stream or brook, and I'd just go chasing sticklebats and minnows, and that was fantastic. And for me, that's what started the passion. Then I would move on, if I had a second chance, and take him float fishing, just catching little fish, gudgeon, perch, just the magic of seeing the float disappear. That's the way to get kids, and not a bite alarm sounding for their first fish. Phil Straw has asked, have I ever been scared while night fishing? Well, Phil actually knows the answer to that, and that was partly his fault. He took me and another friend, Eddie, on a journey to the Cambodia border last winter. Now, Phil is meant to be a big security man, promised he was going to look after us. He said there was no snakes on the island where we were, and no landmines, of which he works on. I can't say I found any landmines, but I did find snake skins, so that was nonsense to start with. But on the second night, Phil fell asleep, and I don't know quite what is wrong with you, Phil, but when you fell asleep, we could not wake you up again for hours on end. And during this time, we're in little tents, and something was behind the back of the tent. Now, I don't know whether it was a tiger, an elephant, whatever, but it was very big. And myself and Eddie had no security then to look after us, because no matter what we did, you would not wake up. I said to Eddie, where is the machete? The machete is left outside. Well, that was great, because if it was a wild tribe that had come onto our island, then they had our weapon. So we had to time our time when we were going to flee the tent, and we charged out there, and there was nothing there. went back to sleep, and again there was big footprint, big sounds banging on the ground, and still to this day I haven't got a clue what it was, but for a while I thought we were going to be eaten alive. Mark Robinson has asked about rig concealment. Now it depends. If it's very dirty water, I don't think it matters so much. That might be in a river or a lake. But if a river or a lake is very clear, then yes, I think it plays a huge part. And one item that's missed so much, and I've watched it so many times, certainly from barbel and all other species I'm sure sees it as well, is your hook. Your hook stands out, and they see your hook laying on the bottom so much. Now, many people don't believe that, but I've watched it so many times where a barbel will come up to a bait, and if you've got that hook laying on a hair beside it, it knows there's something wrong. So for barbel fishing, what I actually do if I fish a boilie, I fish a very tight hair and I fish half a boilie, and it falls over the hook like a cup and hides it, and you'll be amazed how quickly you'll get a bite. Now, I also think in carp fishing the same principle applies, and is the reason why pop-ups have lasted so long and been so effective. I think if a carp was swimming on its side and could see a side profile of the pop-up, you'd never get a bite. But it's because when it comes down over the bait, it can't see the hook. So yeah, for me, hiding everything in clear water is really important, and the hook is as important as putting on fluorocarbon, a back lead or a camouflage lead. Sean Hensby has asked about catching the impossible. Who come up with the idea? Was it a success that I imagined? And also, what was the best moment? Well, I'll go with the first part of the question, and I'm not sure who come up with the name and the idea. It's certainly myself or Hugh Miles. I'd met Hugh on an Angling Times feature, and we'd spoke about filming, and I guess it was fairly organic from there, chatting about fishing, and all of a sudden an idea popped up. Was it a success? In fishing terms and what we caught, certainly I don't think anyone has ever matched that, and maybe will never match it for quantity of absolutely monstrous specimens of a variety of species, and in some instances could never be repeated. They're gone forever. So in a fishing terms, definitely. In media terms, to anglers, we sold a lot of DVDs, so I think it was a success. It was compared at the time against Passion for Angling, and look, it can never be Passion for Angling. That was its own and very special. But I would say to anglers, certainly a success. To mainstream media, no, you'd probably argue not. We were very close to getting on BBC. For whatever reason, it didn't make it. We got on terrestrial TV, which was Channel 4, but it was early, 7 in the morning, something like that. So I think, to be fair, it probably wasn't a success to mainstream media we had hoped. And what was the best moment? There were so many and so many big fish, and I'd be tempted to say either Terry Lampard's huge roach or the giant perch I caught, but actually there was one moment when I thought the impossible was possible. We'd gone through a bad stage of not managing to get the targets, and we went to Bowood Lakes after a 30-pound pike, and we had travelled all over the country trying to catch a 30. They're rare beasts, and to get them on camera, that's so hard. And when that float sunk away and I played that monstrous fish, an estate lake 30, we got that in the net, and I would say, as we were packing up and as I was driving home, I was elated because I knew I could achieve all the goals set. All of a sudden the confidence come rushing back. So the key moment, and for me the one I look back on most fondly, is the 32-pound pike from Bowood. Tudor Jones has asked, will we ever see big shoals of roach on our rivers again, and what can be done to achieve this? Well, actually, I would argue that we are seeing the roach come back on many venues, and if you get a chance, have a look on this website, the Drennan page, and you'll see the Avon Roach Project. I made a film with them last year, and it shows what they have achieved on the Hampshire Avon, which is truly amazing. and the Stour now, the Thames, the Trent, the Warwickshire Avon, I'm hearing of big roach catches up and down all of their reaches. So maybe the roach are coming back. So Tudor, there is hope. Don't worry, there's a chance to catch big roach again. I've got a question from Simon Mansfield, and it sounds like you're having a difficult time at the moment fishing for bream, chub and barbel on the Upper Thames. So I'm going to cheer you up and I'm going to award you this, the Catching the Impossible Leather-bound edition. And I hope that inspires you to keep going, Simon, because you're probably trying all kinds of tips and techniques, bait, rods, reels, God knows what. And sometimes it's not what you're actually doing on that front. You're just fishing at the wrong time of the year. The Upper Thames, like many rivers, don't fish very well in June or July. We all charge down there June the 16th with a lot of dreams and hopes, but it's probably the worst time to be river fishing. So don't lose hope. By all means, try different things, but don't stray too far off the path. Realise that watercraft is the key to catching big fish. Now, I always select the species to the seasons, and that's why I consistently catch big fish. Now, you may be fishing the Upper Thames at the moment while it's clear, low flows and in summer condition, and that's really, really tricky. So perhaps go and try something else and come back in the autumn time when I'm sure it'll be so much better. So until then, I hope you enjoy the book, and thanks for the question.